We have all had one of those deals before that seemed like it was never, ever, ever going to close. Every problem you faced along the way just kept getting bigger and bigger, and incrementally it just built up to the point where this thing was never going to actually come to fruition. But through some miracle beyond your control, it actually does close. You're excited. But then now it gets to the fulfillment side. You need to get the product to the client. But that's when Jumanji and Pandora's box come together to collide and spawn an even bigger challenge. Well, if this sounds crazy, top on to that, this deal is in a remote location at the end of the world. Yeah, this actually did happen. And today you're going to hear the inspirational story of how one seller was able to overcome these insurmountable odds to close a deal through the efforts of a collective team and to make magic happen. But note, this episode is a bit longer than our typical, but you're going to love it. Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And as you heard in the teaser, today we're going to talk about this inspirational story. This deal. You're going to hear from a sales rep who went through the most craziest situations. And I said situations because there's so many. I felt like every time he told me a piece of the story, it was like a movie, something else added onto it. It was the impossible deal that was taking place at the end of the world. Now, I'm saying that because this deal actually did take place physically at the edge or end of the world. It took place in a city known as Ushuaia. Ushuaia is the southernmost city in Argentina. In fact, it is the southernmost city in the world. There is nowhere populated by human beings south of Ushuaia. I once heard a guy said that anything below that point is staffed by penguins, and not reference to anyone you know. I mean, this city is very remote, but being at its physical location, it's not to say this is a desolate, empty land. I mean, there are 57,000 people who reside in Ushuaia. It is a bustling city when it comes to tourism because people want to go to the end of the world. And in addition to that, many scientists and explorers who go to Antarctica for an extended period of time will make their last stop with civilization in Ushuaia. With this background understanding, now you can really grasp this story and the gravity of what we're going to share. You're going to hear from an awesome individual today. Name is Ariel Telly. Ariel is an account manager for Semen Healthineers, covering some of the most southern states in Argentina. One of those areas being Tierra del Fuego and the city of Ushuaia. But just like anything in life, you must have passion. You must have a strong desire to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. Otherwise, you're not going to take on some impossible task such as this one. Ariel is one of those individuals with a passion for sales. But before we went deep into the story, I wanted to figure out why was he so passionate for sales in the first place. He's only been in a role for 2.5 years. But just like Nelson, Ariel comes with a technical background, which enables him to be a two-edged sword. He understands the intricate details of the problems the prospects may face. And because he's a natural problem solver who likes to interact with people and build relationships, sales came pretty easy for him.
I think, the relations with people. I think that is the best part of my job. Travel, talk with the customer, teach the customer. So try to find a solution to different problems. I am biomedical engineer. I started to work like a field engineer, technical. So then I had a really good relation with the customer. So when I fix the device, then the customer requests me. So
Ariel became so good at his role that people used to request him. They would call into the organization and say, "Hello, can you please send Ariel to come and help me?" And not only was he doing a good job at solving the problems for them, but because of the relationships that he built with these clients and the trust they had in him, He was recommending other solutions to them. And naturally, they would make the purchase. He was doing almost a sales role while still in the technical side.
Yeah, because of that, because I used to build a strong relationship with the customer, so and I realized that they trust a lot in me, and I used to recommend a lot of things about devices, medical devices, and then they used to call me, request me advice to buy different devices. And so in that moment, I work. In that moment, I worked for a small company. So I used to talk with my boss and say, "Hey, we have to sell that because the customer needs that." So, and we have a good relation with all the customer, and I always have that idea, and I was so convinced that we could sell more because we have good relation and we need just more products. So, but so in that moment, I start to. In one moment, I do the two job. Like I was a technical engineer and sell devices too. So I could sell devices to the same customer, a new customer too. So and I like that. So it was different. The problems are so different. So uh, it's like you have to give find solution to a financial solution to the what's product fit to the needs of the customer. So and I like that. So I realized that it could be it was like a big challenge for me. I like the challenge, so I change. I say okay, that's the technical service is enough for me. It's like I see like I can grow more in sales area, I think.
I know where you're coming from, man. I think we've all been there where we love the challenge. If you're in sales, you like that the art of being able to identify solutions and to be able to help the client recognize the value and help them to persuade themselves to make that purchase. Ariel, like you said, had a whole unique level of challenges now. Some challenges that he's never ever had. I wanted to hear about the hardest, most difficult sales experience that he had. And this is when he started telling me about this experience, the
Yeah,
impossible
yeah.
deal at the end of the world.
Yeah, that client is situated in the end of the world. Is the city is called Ushuaia. The customer have is the most important clinic there.
Now, when Ariel says the customer has the most or one of the most important clinics in that city, he's not kidding. Remember, you know where Ushuaia is at. The next major city is Buenos Aires, which is by airplane 3.5 hours. And if you're going to drive, God bless you, it's going to be an arduous, long journey. Going by sea will be even more of a difficult task as well. The best way to get there would naturally be by an airplane. But let's say you or your family member is not financially capable of getting an airplane flight, or to take a multi-day car ride to Buenos Aires to get diagnosed, to stay in a hotel, to pay for all that food, and to turn around and to drive back home. This is why the San Jorge Clinic in Ushuaia needed to acquire a new high-precision resonator. The current equipment was old and outdated. According to Dr. Carlos Sanchez Postleman, the director of the San Jorge Clinic, he said that when they get this new equipment, it will be able to help them provide more adequate diagnosis and achieve improvements in the field of cardiovascular, neurovascular, and oncology diseases. The director went on to say that this would help them reaffirm their commitment to their social role to provide quality access to healthcare to those who need it in their community. So it seems like a slam dunk, right? It would be an easy deal to close. They have a problem, we have the solution. But this is a very expensive equipment, and Ariel and his company wasn't the only game in town. In fact, they came into the process after the client was already negotiating with another company. But Just like any great deal, you're always going to find problems. And the ones who can solve the
So
problems the
we
most
start
for
to
the
talk with
customer,
them,
they're the ones that
but
always win.
they needed financiation. They almost closed the deal with one of our competitors two times before, but yeah, I think that, but they told me that they advanced a lot in the negotiation, but finally the financial solution was not good, or maybe the bank not approved the business or something like that. I don't know exactly, but that was the problem. So we in Siemens start to make we find a partner to take risk. It was a bank to give a different financiation to our customer. So we build like a model business to our customer. So we offer that to this customer in March before to the pandemic start. So we work with the bank like 4 months ago to launch this special financiation.
Problem solver. I mean, really, check that out. There was a competitor who they went down this negotiation path with already, not one time, two times, but they always came to the roadblock of financing.
Here in Argentina, the economic is the first problem for all the customer in any business. So sometimes the customer know that one device is or one brand is better than another one, but finally the most important things is the financiation. So
Can they
they
afford it?
just yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So in that moment, it was just one brand give financiation. We don't have any tool to do that, so we cannot be competitive. So if the customer ask you how can I pay that, and you say just 50% to sign the contract, and then some payments, but no more than 1 year. The customer say, "Okay, bye. I need another things." So
That's what
that
happened before
is the
with the competitors.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So let me help paint the picture for you a little bit clearer. The client right now needs to get the solution. Problem number one, Ariel came in the game late. There's already someone in the process. Problem number two is the finance. This client, just like most of the other clients, do not have such a large investment to make in a solution. Clearly, they need it, correct? But we're not talking about something that's going to be $5,000 or even $10,000. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. In most organizations, typically they'll probably get outside financing to be able to help take care of this. The current competitor that Ariel is up against, they did not have a financial capability, a financial arm to be able to provide this. Ariel and his team did not either. So at this point, they just figured, all right, well, this deal is not going anywhere. However, the company started to do something different. They recognized that this was an issue that came up over and over again. But what if there's a way that Siemens Healthineers could partner with another organization and provide some financing for their customers? In his very first meeting, which took place in person, Ariel didn't have this capability. He didn't have this offer. But then something
Yeah,
magical
in the
happened.
first meeting, we don't have that tool. We don't have that financial tool. So then we keep in touch with the customer just by phone, by email, and when the company say, okay, now you can talk about these financial tools, I send some email to to all the opportunity that I have, and then just start to give call. Okay, hey, there's a good, it's a good tool. Please pay attention. This is a big opportunity, and something things like that. So they start to pay attention. We start to speak more frequently with the customers, just by phone, with the engineer and with the CFO. And no more than that, the engineer want to see the characteristics, special technical things, and the CFO see all the specific thing about this tool because it's not easy. We have a lot of paper to manage with the bank, and it's not a simple thing that one day you sign and no, you have to send a lot of paper to the bank. The bank has to analyze all the company, and then there are like a 5 step before to have the approval to use that tool. No.
So problem number one kind of went passed away. He's able to now become a true contender for this opportunity. And the reason why, because they were able to overcome problem number two, which was the financing. But with that, it wasn't quite done yet. As you heard from what Ariel is explaining, the technical guy, he loved the solution. He was enamored by it. He knew this solution would work great for their clinic. The CFO started to get stressed because now there's tons of work for the CFO. They had to do a bunch of financing paperwork and to hopefully get approval from the bank. Now, to make matters worse, the conversion rate in Argentina fluctuate significantly. From day to day, it could be totally different. So we need to get them to finish the paperwork super fast. And now, in addition to that, we need to make sure the equipment actually gets shipped as soon as possible. Remember, we're in a global pandemic. Typical process would take over 100 days. Ariel and his client, in communication with the bank, needed to make sure the equipment got to Argentina much, much faster. If they were to wait that 4-month period for it to get there, who knows what the conversion rate would be like. The bank would not be in for something like this. It needed to happen now.
So I was trying to speed the process with the CFO, with the paperwork, and with the engineer talking about the specific things about the machine. So, but then there's another problem here in Argentina. The conversion rate between pesos and Argentina change all the time. So to fix the price in pesos, you need to be fast, quick, because you cannot do sign and wait like a regular ship time is around 120 days. So the customer cannot wait all that long time to fix the price, So then we have to find a solution with that. We try to talk with all the internal people in the company to find a solution to short the time to ship the equipment. So finally, we found that we can provide a device in around 1 month. It's just 4 times faster. Wow. So, but the price was $200,000 more than the device that we was talking about.
You heard that right. Yes, they were able to shorten that process. The shipment now could move from 4 months down to only 1 month, but it was going to cost the client over $200,000 more. Talk about impossible. Talk about problems. First, he wasn't a contender, but was able to get into the deal. Second, he needed to make sure he found a unique way to help them with finance. Check, that was done. Third, well, it almost was done. They needed to make sure the paperwork and everything was taken care of quickly. And in order for that financing, that unique financing to take place, they needed to make sure the product got to Argentina as soon as possible. Waiting 4 months wasn't going to work. They were able to get it to Argentina in 1 month, but it was going to be a different product, a better product. However, this product was going to cost $200,000 more. This deal seems like it is never going to close. I told you it was the impossible deal at the end of the world. When we get back from the break, we're going to hear what finally did happen. How did Ariel take care of this matter? How was he able to talk to the client about the extra $200,000? Did they decide to go with something else? You're listening to the Sales Evangelist podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Hey, we're back. Now, as we go into the second half of this episode, you're going to hear what finally did happen with Ariel. How was he able to maneuver and to make this happen? I wanted to know, I was just curious, like, did he think the deal was dead at this point? Did he see any way of salvaging it? $200,000 more and financing is an issue? Man, I don't know. He's got to be a magician. Let's see what happened.
No, because I know that, so I have to go forward step by step. So the first thing is get the paperwork to the bank. So what the bank told me, okay, the financial number of the companies are good, are okay. I can earn money, give the money to buy the system. Then the next step is say the client, okay, your paper are good, so yes, you give this the first step. Now the second step is the configuration of the machine, because these devices are complex. You can twice the almost twice the price if you put all the things in the machine. So you we have to talk about that. So and we have like an entry level magnetic resonance that we was talking about, but the time to get that machine here, the best time was like I don't remember. It was not 120 days. It was like maybe 90 days. And the banks say no, I cannot wait 90 days either, because it's a lot of time to the rate of the banks too. So we have to get a 60 shipment time to make the deal possible. 60 days, okay. 60, 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah, finally we start to find a possible solution with that, and then the customer have a problem with the old machine. So with his old machines, so they start to get crisis. So I want to the system right now. I want to buy now. So and that was the perfect pain point to show the opportunity to get a best device, more expensive, but in quickly, in a short time. So we find a solution that was the second level, like a high level of magnetic resonance. So the next step of the models. So, but the price was $200,000 more. But we think that we could get so much fast and quickly. So,
sorry, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, well, and so so because the clients start to think, no, it's so much time, I wanna buy another user device. So my challenge was convince the client that it didn't make sense to buy another old user device in that moment. So that it was better buy a $200,000 best resonance, the magnetic resonance, that old device, and then maybe in 2 years another new one. So that was the challenge for me.
But this is where true problem solving comes into effect. The first solution was not going to get there in time. The second solution could get there within that time frame that the bank would like. Again, it did cost a little bit more, but Ariel needed to express the value. The client thought about going with a used machine, but we all know what could happen when you go with something that's used. In this case, Ariel's been the technician that's been there over and over and over again. He recognized that though a used machine could be good, it would not be a long term fix for them. In a couple years, they would probably have to go buy another used machine, and thus the cost continues to rise. They needed to make the investment in something that was going to work and that was going to work for a long time and provide the most accurate readings. Ariel needed to express the value again and to express it in a way that the client would be able to comprehend. And one of the ways that he was able to do that was to being a problem solver, was just to go back and look at the numbers with the client.
We showed the number. We asked how much study they used to do in a month. Uh, they they could improve a lot of new study with the new device. So they could grow up so much, like if they compare with the old devices. So because the people in that city is in the end of the world. So if they have a problem, a big problem that they need a complex study, they had to travel to the capital in Argentina. So they have to spend a lot of money to make maybe one complex study. So we show that they could uh, take all that people. So the client know that they know that. So the challenge was maybe convinced that this was the moment to do that and not to buy a old device
Used
and
machine. Yeah.
yeah, use the machine. So we show that they was not so much expensive like he thought, because if you analyze all the study that they could make in 10 years. So, and the price of the dollar here in Argentina these years, so that was not expensive. It was a big opportunity because, for example, the price of the relationship between pesos and dollars in that moment was in July,
Mhm.
was 25% less than now. So definitely it was a good deal.
Another problem solved. At this point, Ariel was convinced the deal had to be done. It was progressing forward. Everything seemed to line up great. Let's just go ahead and close it and help this organization and this community. I mean, what else could go wrong?
Yeah, after that, so when one time after that, they was convinced that it was a good business with the CFO was convinced. So then the engineer was convinced that the machine was so much better than the another one. So the business was on rate, like okay, we have to finish the paperwork, so not much. So I was quiet, like okay, it's done. It's I was convinced that we was going to close. The project progress was 80%. The win expectation was 80%. So all was good.
Yeah.
And but 2 weeks before to close the deal, another competitor appeared.
Oh.
I don't know. Some people who work to another company and talk with the competitor and say, "Hey, this clinic in the end of the world is going to buy a new device."
Yeah.
So they appear, and it was the another competitor. It wasn't the same that before was close to close the deal. So it
Another one.
was the another one.
Don't you just hate when that happened? I'm sure you've had the same situation where you're so close to closing a deal, and then all of a sudden a competitor comes around and tries to lowball you and try to do all they can to win this business. But Ariel wasn't going to put up with this. He's worked so hard for months and months and months and negotiated and made things happen. So now things must go through. Naturally, like you and I, it caused him some stress, and I just can picture this description. He was telling me how he was walking around his room and going from meetings to meetings and WhatsApp calls and so forth. It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I walk a lot around in my house all the time. Uh, yeah, talking by phone with the engineer, when the CFO, with the doctor, with the owner of the clinic. It was 2 weeks so hard. I could sleep well 2 weeks because the another competitor appeared. I give the lowest price. Like it was impossible. And finally the time to give the machine, it wasn't the same. The machine, it wasn't the same. Fortunately, the engineer was so convinced that we have a best solution, high quality. So, but it was not easy because the competitor give like a free contract for maintain service and a lot of things. I think that in that moment the important thing was that we was the company that give the solution. Because the competitor want to use the same bank that we are using to give the solution. So I think in that moment the relationship with that people, with the CFO, with the engineer, with the medic, with all the doctors was it's put the balance in the decision, because we was working like for 2 months a lot with that. um, I think that they realized that we have a good and best quality product, and they have in in main, how do you say, in here, that the investment was good. Yeah, so they think the deal in looking at 10 years on the future. So they talk with customers that have the same products. So all the customers say, now this is the best machine in this segment. So finally we can close the deal, but it wasn't easy.
But that's sales. It is never easy. And oftentimes you really have to be the problem solver, to be the consultant. And maybe your sale, you don't have to wait months. However, the principles still apply. Ariel thought the deal was completed at this point. Everything seems like it was done. But the machine is still not quite delivered yet.
Have to ship that machine faster from Germany to the end of the war. And in Argentina, the pandemic was so high, so there was no flight to travel in the country. So in that moment, when we closed the deal, there wasn't any flight from Buenos Aires, the capital, to Ushuaia, the client city. So, but we were thinking that in 1 month there was going to be a flight. And so if anyway the engineer they had to travel by car, so all the country to install the machine.
Now, again, just to help you understand, this is not a small, simple machine you put on your desk. This is a machine that takes up part of a room. It is big. It is huge. And in this case, one, getting the machine there, but also getting the technical individuals to Argentina with the global pandemic, it was crazy. And you know where Ushuaia is at? I explained that. The end of the world. So imagine that car ride in the winter. But not just that. This wasn't just any typical winter. No, it's 2020. We have to make it even more exciting. And literally, we are not making any of this up. This is all real.
So, but another problem, but that in July in Argentina it's winter, so there was one of the biggest snow season in yeah in years. So this was a big challenge to all the people of the project team too. But finally, the device reached to the city, to Ushuaia, in winter and in pandemic too. And now it's working.
One of the craziest snow season in 30 years to add on to it. So let's go back through all of these problems. One, he wasn't the first to the table. There was already a competitor who they went through the deal process with twice. He finally was able to get a seat at the table. But number two, it was a financing problem. They didn't have a tool to help this client to make that big purchase. But luckily, Siemens was able to come with a solution eventually that was able to be used. Now, to add on to that, they needed to get a lot of paperwork filled out, and a fluctuating conversion rate wasn't helping. The client had to fill out tons of paperwork and to do it fast. Then to add on to that, they needed to make sure that the product actually got to the country on time. 4 months wasn't going to cut it. The bank said it needed to get there in 60 days. In order to do that, Siemens had to go with another solution. However, this solution was going to cost $200,000 more on top of the cost already that the client's paying. That is concerned with price, considering the economic challenges that they're facing. It's almost impossible. But let's say all that worked out, which it did. Now, a competitor came into the picture and they wanted to lowball the deal. However, they weren't able to get the product there on time or within that short space of a window. And plus, the relationship was built with Ariel, his team, with the clinic, and with the bank. There's something about building great relationships and being of value. And then to continue to add problems, we needed to get the engineers in the global pandemic from Germany to Ushuaia. This was going to be a challenge. They took some flights, but still yet there was a lot of complication with logistics. And not only get themselves there, they needed to get the machine there still within that 60-day window. And then to put the cherry on top, they had one of the biggest snow season in 30 years in Argentina. All right, now you see how impossible this is. The impossible deal at the end of the world during the global pandemic. But it goes back to show, if one of my favorite movies is The Martian, and one of the lines what the main character shared was, when you find problems, you just have to solve them step by step. It's the same idea that Ariel did with this solution, with this problem. He didn't take it all at once. It was just bit by bit. And for you, no matter what deal you're working on, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how impossible it is, can you break it down step by step? Can you just solve one problem at a time? If you need to make sure you get into the deal, what's the way that you can do that? Focus on that right now. Once you solve that problem, you go to the next problem, and you continue to do that. But this is not only something you're going to find in sales, it's something you're going to find in life. We're here on this earth as an opportunity to learn and to grow. By the time we end our journey, we don't want to be the same individual we were when we started. We want to be more wiser. We want to be able to accomplish more things. And the only way you're going to do that is by taking on challenges, taking on difficulties. Sales gives us that opportunity every single day. And as you're starting off this new year in 2021, I want to inspire you. I want you to hear the story of Ariel and some of these other sellers who've just overcome so many difficult things and have been able to accomplish it. And if they did it, why not you? What's stopping you from making that happen? In closing, I wanted to ask Ariel, what's one major takeaway, one piece of advice he wanted to leave you with? Here's what he said.
I don't have so much experience in sales. I remember when I changed from technical service to sales. You know, when you start in sales, you think you had to born with that special skill, yeah, with that special skill to sell or not. And I think that uh, any person can learn a lot about sales. Uh, they they just to want to do that. If they like that, they can improve every skill. I think okay, anybody can do that if they propose to do that. So they can learn, they can find a solution. I don't know. That's his advice.
I absolutely love that response, and I'm 100% in agreement with Ariel. Anyone can succeed in sales, even you. Being someone that's new, or perhaps you're someone who's struggling right now, or maybe you're a veteran seller. Maybe you got the wind knocked out of you this past year and 2020, and now in 2021 you want to improve, you want to do better. You could do it. You can make it happen. You don't have to be born a natural seller. I don't believe that's necessarily the case. A lot of people have those skills, but anything in life can be learned. You can get those learned traits. You can improve if you have a desire to do it, as Ariel shared here. I want you to succeed, and this is why I tell you stories like this. This is why I brought Ariel onto this podcast. I want you to thrive just like him, and I want you to succeed. I want you to be able to connect with him as well. And if you'd like to do so, you can find him on LinkedIn. We have all of his details there in our show notes, and you could see it there. Ariel Telly, and you can find him, Siemens Healthineers. As always, I share this because I want you to succeed. I want you to find more of those ideal customers. I want you to overcome the odds this year. I want you to make magic happen. I want you to close more deals than ever. But most importantly, I want you to challenge yourself each and every single day to go do the impossible at the end of the world and go out and do big things. Thanks so much for listening. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video today. If you enjoyed the content, I ask you to go ahead and hit that like button, that thumbs up at the bottom right-hand corner. Also, to make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. This way, we'll keep you up to date with all the latest sales strategies, latest tools, and things that are going to help you to not only find more prospects, but to close more deals. Thanks so much.